The smell of roast turkey couldn't mask the stench of disapproval around my family's Thanksgiving table. I sat quietly, picking at my mother's famous cranberry sauce while my siblings took turns discussing their latest achievements. The law firm made me junior partner last month, my brother Michael announced, adjusting his Rolex. Youngest in the firm's history. And my hedge fund just cleared $2 billion in assets, David added, not to be outdone. He turned to our youngest sister Victoria. How's the new plastic surgery practice? Victoria preened. 3-month waiting list. Celebrities are flying in from L just to see me. Then all eyes turned to me. The disappointment. The failure. The eldest Carter sibling who'd somehow ended up working at the city's private airport instead of following the family's prestigious career paths. How's the airport job, Emma? My father asked as if the words left a bad taste in his mouth. Still running operations at Millbrook Private Aviation, I replied, deliberately using the airport's full name. Not that it mattered. They never bothered to understand what I actually did. Victoria snorted into her wine glass. You mean you're still just an airport worker? Checking bags and waving those little orange sticks. I bit back the urge to correct her. To explain that as director of operations, I oversaw everything from multi-million-dollar fuel contracts to flight scheduling for some of the world's most exclusive private jets. Dad, I just smiled. Something like that. Really, Emma, my mother sighed, exchanging looks with my father. We paid for your education at Stanford. You could have been anything, doctor, lawyer, investment banker. Instead, you're working at an airport. What they didn't know was that I wasn't just working at the airport. Over the past 5 years, I'd been quietly building something much bigger. But trying to explain that would be pointless. They'd already decided who I was, or rather who I wasn't. At least tell me you're dating someone successful, Victoria pressed. You know, someone who might help you find a real career. I thought about the acquisition papers sitting on my desk at the office, waiting to be signed. About the complex web of holding companies and investment vehicles I'd created. About the fact that I was about to become their boss, though they didn't know it yet. Actually, I started, but David cut me off. Oh God, did you see her car outside? Still driving that old Honda while the rest of us have private jets. He laughed, gesturing with his crystal wine glass. Speaking of which, we're all flying to Aspen next week for the winter opening. You should come, Emma. I'm sure we can find you a seat in coach on a commercial flight. The Honda was a deliberate choice, like my modest apartment and off-the-rack clothes. It's amazing what you can accomplish when people underestimate you. When they're too busy showing off their own success to notice yours. Thank you, but I'll be busy next week, I said quietly. We have some major changes coming at work. Changes? My father raised an eyebrow. Don't tell me they're finally automating the baggage handling. More laughter around the table. I pushed back my chair, suddenly tired of their jokes, their assumptions, their casual cruelty disguised as concern. Actually, Millbrook Aviation is being acquired, I told them, standing up. Things will be different after the sale goes through. Oh no, Victoria's face showed mock concern. You're not losing your little airport job, are you? I'm sure Michael could find you something entry-level at his law firm. I gathered my coat, thinking about the meetings scheduled for next week. About the shock that was about to ripple through their perfectly ordered worlds. Don't worry about me, I said, heading for the door. I'll be fine. Emma, wait, my mother called after me. You haven't had dessert. And we need to discuss Christmas arrangements. Everyone's flying in on their private jets again this year. I turned back, unable to resist. You might want to hold off on those flight plans. I hear there might be some changes to the airport's operating procedures after the acquisition. What would you know about it? David scoffed. You're just an airport worker. We'll see, I smiled, closing the door behind me. In my car, the Honda they mocked, which I kept precisely because it was so unlike me, I pulled out my phone and dialed my CFO. Sarah? Move up the timeline. Let's close the acquisition tomorrow. Are you sure? She asked. We were going to wait until after the holiday season. I thought about David's private jet comment, about Victoria's sneers, about all the years of dismissal and condescension. I'm sure. Time to show my family exactly what an airport worker can do. Back at my real office. Not the modest one at the airport they occasionally visited, but my actual headquarters downtown. I reviewed the acquisition documents one last time. The structure was beautiful in its complexity. A series of holding companies and investment vehicles that all led back to one source, Eagle Aviation Group, the company I'd built from scratch over the past decade. What my family didn't know, what none of them had bothered to find out, was that I hadn't just been working at the airport. I'd been studying it, understanding its potential, and quietly buying up strategic assets across the private aviation sector. Millbrook Aviation was just the latest piece in my empire, but it was the most personal. Not only because it was where I'd started, but because it was where my family's precious private jets were based. My assistant knocked softly. "Miss Carter? The board members are assembled for the emergency meeting." I gathered my papers, straightening my jacket, Armani, though my family had never seen me wear it. "Tell them I'll be right there." The boardroom fell silent as I walked in. These men had known me for years, first as the quiet operations director, then as the mysterious force behind Eagle Aviation Group. Now they were about to watch me take control of the very airport my family thought I merely worked at. "Lady and gentlemen," I began, setting my folders on the table. "Let's talk about the future of private aviation in this city." As I outlined my plans for the airport, plans that would revolutionize private aviation while giving me complete control over who could and couldn't use the facilities, I thought about next week's planned flights to Aspen. My family had no idea that their comfortable world of private jets and privileged access was about to change dramatically. That their airport worker sister was about to become the one person they couldn't afford to dismiss. "The papers are ready to sign," my lawyer announced, sliding the documents across the table. "Once executed, Eagle Aviation Group will have complete control of Millbrook Aviation and all its facilities." I picked up the pen, thinking about Victoria's sneer, David's mockery, Michael's condescension. About all the family dinners where they'd treated me like a cautionary tale. "One more thing," I said, pausing before signing. "I want all existing private jet arrangements reviewed. Especially," I smiled, remembering their Christmas plans, the Carter family's standing agreements. The call started at 6 a.m. the following Monday. First David, then Victoria, and finally Michael, all frantically trying to figure out why their private jets couldn't get clearance for the Aspen trip. I let them go to voicemail, instead watching through the security feeds as they stormed into Millbrook Aviation's terminal, demanding answers from staff who'd been carefully briefed on the new ownership structure. "What do you mean you need special approval?" David was shouting at the front desk. "I've been flying out of this airport for years." "I'm sorry, sir," the attendant replied calmly, following my exact instructions. "All private jet arrangements are under review by the new ownership. You'll need to speak with the CEO of Eagle Aviation Group." "Fine. Get them on the phone right now." "I'm afraid Miss Carter only takes scheduled appointments." I watched David's face freeze. "Carter, what did you say?" Before the attendant could respond, Victoria burst in, her designer heels clicking against the marble floor. "David, my pilot just told me all our flight plans are suspended. What's going on?" Apparently, David's voice was strangled. "We need to speak with the CEO of Eagle Aviation Group. Someone named Carter." Victoria's perfectly maintained composure cracked. "Carter? You don't think?" "Think what?" Michael joined them, his lawyer's briefcase clutched tightly. "Why are we all standing here instead of flying to Aspen?" "Because," I said, finally stepping out of the elevator, "you need my permission first." They turned as one, their expressions shifting from anger to confusion to dawning horror as they took in my appearance. Not the modest clothes they were used to seeing, but a tailored suit that cost more than their monthly car payments. "Emma," Victoria whispered. What is this?" "This," I gestured around the terminal, "is my company. Well, one small part of it. Eagle Aviation Group owns not just this airport, but 15 others across the country. Including, incidentally, the one you were planning to land at in Aspen." "That's impossible," David sputtered. "You're just an airport worker." "No," I corrected him. "I was the director of operations who spent 5 years learning every aspect of this business while building my own aviation empire. And now I'm your boss." Michael, always the quickest to adapt, stepped forward. "Emma, be reasonable. We can talk about this. Like you talked about me at Thanksgiving? Making jokes about orange sticks and baggage handling." I pulled out my phone, checking the time. "I have a board meeting in 10 minutes. If you want to discuss your flying privileges, you'll need to make an appointment." Through proper channels, of course. But Aspen. Victoria's voice cracked. Everyone's expecting us. We have arrangements. You should have thought about that before spending years mocking the person who now controls your ability to fly private. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and David? About that comment regarding finding me a seat in coach? I own 3 Gulfstream G650s personally. Perhaps you've seen them? They're the ones that always get priority clearance. I left them standing in the terminal, their perfect plans crumbling around them. My assistant met me at the elevator. Your parents are on their way, she warned. Your father sounds agitated. Good, I smiled. Have them escorted to the main conference room when they arrive. I think it's time for a proper family meeting. An hour later, I sat at the head of the conference table watching my family file in. Gone was their usual confidence, replaced by uncertainty and barely concealed anger. What is the meaning of this? My father demanded, though his voice lacked its usual authority. Since when do you own an aviation company? Since I built one, I replied calmly. While you were all busy bragging about your achievements, I was quietly creating something bigger than all of your successes combined. But how? My mother asked, sinking into a chair. You never said anything. Would you have listened? Or would you have dismissed it like you dismissed everything else I've done? Silence fell. They knew I was right. So what now? Michael asked, his lawyer's mind probably already calculating angles. You're going to ban us from flying private just for revenge. Revenge? I laughed softly. This isn't about revenge. This is business. Eagle Aviation Group is reviewing all private jet arrangements to ensure they meet our new standards. If you want to continue using our facilities, you'll need to apply like everyone else. Apply? Victoria looked horrified. To our own sister? No, I corrected her. To the CEO of the largest private aviation network in the country. The same CEO you called just an airport worker last week. I slid folders across the table, one for each of them. Inside you'll find our new terms. They're very reasonable, though significantly more expensive than your previous arrangements. You can either accept them or find another airport. Though you should know we've just acquired your closest alternatives. My father opened his folder, his face paling as he read the numbers. This is highway robbery. Actually, I smiled, it's market rate. You're just not used to paying it. Amazing what connections can do, isn't it? Like those special discounts you all enjoyed because you thought you were doing your little sister a favor by using her airport. Emma, please, my mother tried. We're family. Are we? Was I family when you mocked my career? When you dismissed my achievements? When you treated me like an embarrassment because I chose a different path? We didn't know. David started. Exactly. You didn't know because you never bothered to find out. You were too busy showing off your jets and your watches and your surgical practices to notice that your airport worker sister was building an empire. I stood up, smoothing my skirt. You have 24 hours to accept the new terms. After that, your flying privileges will be permanently revoked. Not just here but at all Eagle Aviation facilities. You can't do this. Victoria protested. Pie patience. Can fly commercial. Or you can accept my terms. Your choice. As they sat there, stunned by their sudden powerlessness, my assistant knocked quietly. Miss Carter? The Sheik's representatives are here about expanding our Dubai operations. Thank you. I gathered my papers, enjoying the way my siblings' eyes widened at the mention of Dubai. You can see yourselves out. Oh, and one more thing. Those Christmas flight plans you were discussing at Thanksgiving? I've taken the liberty of canceling them. Perhaps you can all drive to grandmother's this year. I hear the highway traffic is terrible. Over the next week I watched them squirm. Victoria's celebrity clients were furious about having to fly commercial. David's hedge fund partners questioned his judgment. Michael's law firm colleagues whispered about the sister who'd outmaneuvered them all. One by one they signed the new agreements. Each signature was a testament to how quickly power can shift, how easily the mighty can fall when they underestimate the wrong person. My parents tried to negotiate, of course. They invited me to dinner, sent expensive gifts, even attempted to guilt me through our grandmother. But I held firm. 3 months later, I hosted a charity gala at the airport's private terminal. My family attended, not as honored guests, but as regular clients who'd paid full price for their flights. I watched them mingle uncomfortably with the actual elite, their former confidence replaced by the knowledge that their status now depended entirely on their sister's goodwill. "Your family seems different," my CFO observed, sipping champagne as we watched Victoria awkwardly explain to her friends why she couldn't arrange priority landing times anymore. "Amazing what a little perspective can do," I replied. "Especially when it comes at 30,000 feet. Later that night, alone in my office overlooking the runways, I found an old family photo. In it, they all stood proudly by their first private jet, while I stood awkwardly to the side in my airport uniform. I kept it as motivation, a reminder of why I worked so hard in secret. Now it just made me smile. Because sometimes success isn't about proving people wrong. Sometimes it's about becoming so powerful that their opinions become irrelevant. Especially when they need your permission just to get off the ground.